All right, we are live. Everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is David Ortiz. I'm running for the Colorado State House here in HD 38, and we're going to give everyone a couple minutes to get settled in and get ready to join us. We're joined by two great guests today. We've got former Littleton City Council member Kyle Schlachter and current Littleton City Council member and Mayor Pro Tem Scott Mellon. So we'll be starting here in a few minutes. Stay tuned. I want to thank everyone so much for tuning in. Again, my name is David Ortiz. I am running for the Colorado State House here in House District 38, which is Littleton in the western parts of Centennial. We are. And today, for our live hangout, we are joined by Mayor Pro Tem and Littleton City Council member Scott Mellon. Also, we are joined by former Littleton City Council member Kyle Schlachter. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining us to talk a little bit about your past and present leadership and work in the community, and to give everybody an opportunity to get to know the work you do and also to get to know you. So with Kyle, you want to start with your intro and take it away?
Sure. Thanks for inviting us, David. This is great to sit here and chat with you and get to talk with the community here. My name is Kyle Schlachter. I was a Littleton City Council member a couple years ago from 2017 to 2019. Let's see. What do you ask? Kyle Schlachter, I'm 39. I've been in Colorado for about the last 20 years, born and raised in Wisconsin. Came out here to go to the University of Denver, and been out here pretty much ever since. I lived in Denver and Littleton when I've been here. And for my apart from being involved with Littleton, I work for the Colorado Department of Agriculture. I work with the Colorado Wine Board and promote and market all the local, small, family-owned vineyards and wineries in Colorado. So that's what I do.
All right, great. Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate that.
Yeah, David, thanks so much for doing this. What a fun opportunity. My name is Scott Mellon. I'm current Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Littleton, and of course sit on the Littleton City Council. I suppose I should say I'm not here in any official capacity today, just as someone, citizen who supports David's HD 38 campaign. I'm 36 years old. I work as an attorney, and I was born and raised in Colorado, and in fact right here in Littleton, and except for a couple of brief periods in New York and a couple other places, I've really lived here my whole life.
That's great. Thank you so much. Let's get right into it. I want to talk a little bit about how long you guys have been involved in politics, kind of what brought you into the work, why politics in the first place. I mean, Kyle, you said you are involved in being a sommelier and involved in the local agriculture and business community. And Scott, you're a local attorney. So kind of what prompted you to be involved? Why the interest in politics and in serving?
So, I think, people use the word politics and kind of think it's a dirty word. I like to think of politics as just how things get done. It's just the process of how things get done in our world. I've always been interested in kind of the political scene. When I was in elementary school, I did a Badger Boy State. I think they have all the different states that kind of similar organizations where it's like a mock government. You go, we had like 200 fifth and sixth graders go to a college campus and kind of create your own government to see what it's like. And I found that interesting. And I always like watching political shows. West Wing was such a great show, watching that, and just wanted to be more involved. And when I moved to Littleton, I pay attention to things going on. We bought a condo over by the golf course. Oh, what is that, about 12, 13 years ago now? And wanted to be involved in that. I was on the HOA board. Funny story with that. I was installed as the HOA president in a what I like to call a reverse coup against my will one year. But they kept asking me to be the HOA president, and it was me and a bunch of 90-year-old women, and I kept on saying I didn't have time to that. And one of the meeting, I'm resigning, and we've asked Kyle to do it. So in a room here, what can I can't say no at that point in time. So my only avenue of that was I moved 6 months later. But I would watch city council meetings and just kind of pay attention, see what's going on. I think it's real important that the community is in touch with their local government and your state government. And most people focus on national politics, but it's the local politics that really influence our day-to-day lives. And so this was about 2014, about 6 years ago. There was urban renewal started up in Littleton. It was quite a contentious issue these last 6 years, and I volunteered to be on that board. I went to a couple of the meetings, and it was a bunch of people that had been on that board for the last 15 years. I don't know if there was anyone under the age of 65 on the board, and so I thought, hey, where's the representation of the people that actually live in this community here? So I served on that board for about 3 years, and then decided to run for city council in 2017, and was elected and served 2 years there. So I think it's that's how I got involved, is just wanting to be interested in what's going on.
Yeah, it sounds like you got voluntold first by a bunch of 90-year-olds, and then you tried to escape that by moving, and then you got sucked right back in again. So that's
yeah. Well, it is what it is.
Yeah, appreciate that, Kyle. All right, Scott, what about you?
Yeah, I think I have a similar feeling as Kyle, as far as kind of like the word politics. I view what I do as community service. I got involved. It was a bit of a snowball effect, kind of like Kyle. I participated in the Littleton Leadership Academy a few years ago, and that led to participation in the Littleton Police Citizen Academy. I started paying attention to local government by meeting with every thought leader who wanted to meet with me in the city, and showing up to council meetings, and it just became more and more interesting to me, and I just saw it as an opportunity to try to do some good. So that's the how. I think the why is that over time I got pretty fatigued with what I perceived to be the trajectory of the world, and got pretty fatigued with what I'd call a sort of conventional brand of political leader, right, whose leadership's really characterized by a lot of times this excessive masculinism. I think a lack of thoughtfulness, an arrogance, things like that. I wasn't attracted to the personalities I saw on the ballot, and thought, you know what, why don't I take a shot at it and try to be the kind of leader I'd like to see.
Outstanding. Well, thank you for stepping up to do that, and for answering that call, especially at the local level, because it's like Kyle said, that to me, all politics are local, and they impact you in every way. To that end, if you guys want to take a few minutes to highlight for you in your mind the work that you've done, some of the projects that you care the most about, and are that you want to do.
So I think one of my, things that I'm most proud of from my 2 years on council is starting the Next Generation Advisory Committee. And it's a group of young people in our community, ages 16 to 36. And it was started to just provide some feedback to the city and city council about a perspective, that age range. City council meetings tend to be dominated by older people, retired people that come down there. We kind of see a lot of the same faces and a lot of the same voices and same issues. And my whole idea was I want to have better representation of the community at large, and that was an age group that we just weren't hearing from. At the time, I was the youngest person on council by 10 years, and Scott's probably the youngest by about 15 now. He keeps lowering that bar down for the age range there, and so I think that was that. I'm proud of that. It's still getting up and running. This is just the second year it's been going. With the current situation with COVID, and meetings, I think they've kind of been a little setback with not being able to meet and things like that. But I hope that will continue and get new people involved in the city, but also give city leaders a new voice to listen to.
Great. Just before I let you go, Scott, I want to let you know that JD McCrum says hello to you both. So,
Hey, JD.
Awesome. Go ahead. Take it away, Scott.
Yeah, so off of council in my life, the work that I've been most proud of is gender equity work. I spent a lot of time as an attorney, before that, a staff member, before that, a volunteer at the shelter up in Fort Collins. And that's actually why I became an attorney. My master's degree is in human rights with a concentration in women's human rights, and that's something that I'm really proud of being part of. On council, I think there's a tremendous importance to the work council is doing, the work that the city staff is doing to respond responsibly to COVID-19. This is an unprecedented, historic crisis, and of course, I'm proud to be a part of what I perceive to be a good response, a good triaging of that. I'll do everything I can to promote sustainability initiatives within the city.
Okay. You guys froze on me. Can you see me or hear me? Kyle? You're muted. We lost. Okay, there we go. There, we got you back.
I muted myself.
Hey, speaking of which, I gotta be honest, man. Like when I first moved here to Littleton, combat veteran, wounded, coming here, I remember having blackouts or brownouts. I want to say like it was 4 or 5 times in the summer. And then also the internet wasn't so good here. I know we've been making strides since then, and it hasn't been that bad, but definitely want to put that back on y'all's radar. I remember during the Littleton City Council member meeting last night, there was one council member that had a little bit of issues with their internet. But yeah, so it seemed we lost you for a little bit, Scott, but we got you back now. So it sounds like you were just talking about the motivations, being attorney for gender equity, like that was your area of studies, and just kind of want to keep taking that to the work you do now.
I think what I was saying when the internet went out was I'm trying to promote some sustainability initiatives on. I was getting rolling, having COVID hit, so it's been pushed out a little bit, but we're still working behind the scenes, trying to work it everywhere.
Yeah, thank you. Great. I want to call attention to the Next Generation Advisory Committee because actually, friend of the campaign and HD38 hopeful who's since endorsed the campaign, Larry Thompson, got selected by y'all. So y'all definitely have a great leader in him. So shout out to him for getting selected. I'd be interested in keeping up to date and finding out more. I don't know if you guys plan on advertising, maybe taking like a group shot or a class shot of who was selected, and kind of letting the community know who is there representing them, ages 16 through 36, and kind of what their role and function more is. So
yeah, so I can start. So this was Kyle's idea. So props to him for getting this happening during his time on council. We just completed candidate interviews just a couple of days ago, and we've got a really outstanding group of new members, and I think they're going to do a great job representing that 16 to 36 age group. A couple things council's asked them to weigh in on are their perspective on our comprehensive plan update that we're working on, which is the main priority of the city, as well as what they'd like to see in sustainability. And really excited what that group can do.
Awesome, I am too. And I got to give you guys a shout out too, because I remember when I first moved here, my home needed certain accessible renovations that were outside of the code, like certain distance between my neighbor's house. And as long as I got his okay, we could get a dispensation from the city. And the city of Littleton was like this and helping me. As soon as they heard my story and knew why I was trying to get certain work done, the turnaround was like this. So, that was probably, during your time, Kyle. So I want to thank you guys for that, and just kind of try to create that impact for everyone that's listening out there on the ways, big and small, that local government can impact people's lives, and making this a community that's equitable and accessible for all. So I just want to thank you guys for that. All right, let's talk about what you think the top 3 issues are here in Littleton. If you want to talk a little bit to what strikes you as unique to the character of Littleton, and then what the 3 issues you all believe are most important. Obviously, they're all important, but what is kind of on the forefront of your mind?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that qualification that they're. Go ahead, Kyle.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say I appreciate that qualification that they're all important, right? They are. For me, the top 3 issues are responding to COVID. That's been pretty all-consuming for council and staff for a couple months now. I think it's terribly important that we get it right. That's number 1 right now. Right up there is implementing our comprehensive plan update. So the city was without a comprehensive plan for basically a generation. And this is a critical document, our roadmap into the future. How do we want our values instantiated in our built environment going forward? And we're hard at work on doing that update. I'd say the third top issue for me is communication improvements of all kinds to ease congestion, to increase accessibility, to increase people's ability to use a multimodal approach to achieve what they need to in their everyday lives, whether that's transit, biking, walking, etc.
Yeah, great. And Kyle, before I let you go, just want to let you know that Larry Thompson Sr. is joining us and has a comment for you guys. Glad to have you on the show. So, all right, Kyle, if you want to talk to me about what you think the unique characteristics are of Littleton and 3 issues.
So I think Littleton, it's kind of it's a generic answer, but the nexus of kind of the history of Littleton, the proximity to nature and open space that we have here, especially all the parks and trails, but South Platte Park, but also our place within the broader community of the metro area. I mean, we are not a small little town off by itself, out away from everything else. We are part of a metropolitan area. And we can't lose sight of that. So we have to, have an eye on what the future looks like, looking back at our history, keeping an eye on the importance of this connection to nature and open space that we have, but also that we are part of a broader cosmopolitan area, a diverse region here in, the Front Range. And I think as a part of that, one of the biggest issues that I see, and it would be a common theme and things I talk about, is just representation, getting voices, getting perspective, getting values from all sorts of people. And I think that will allow us to have the best path forward to grow as a community and make Littleton and our surrounding neighbors the best that we all can be. And it's just 3 or 4 or 5 people expressing their opinions. It's not gonna, you're gonna miss out on a whole bunch of things. Like with you, David, having an idea of someone that is has different accessibility issues. Just have people that run a bike everywhere, answer things. Okay, well then we'll have one different view of what the city should look like, but we need to get different perspectives to help make it the best it can be for everyone.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. What struck to me the most, and why I was really glad to hear you say, was nexus, because honestly, that's what attracted me to this community. I went to rehab here at Craig Hospital, which is in Inglewood, and because of the adaptive sports program here, I knew my future was here in Colorado, but then it was a question of where. And what was so attractive to me about Littleton, one, was its proximity to Craig Hospital. Two, was that at the time it was affordable. It was extremely affordable at the time. Now they're trying to tell me my home is 4 times the value of what I originally got it for, which would price me out of the community currently. So we need to seek, make sure we're looking at issues of affordability and accessibility, but also the distance to downtown. It's about a 15-20 minute drive. And I think that's why we're starting to see a demographic change here in Littleton, because as Denver Metro proper gets more expensive, you're going to see working individuals, young professionals, and working families settle in places like Littleton or Centennial. So I think, that was key for me. Plus the open spaces. Like, I love to bike ride down the Platte River Trail. It's wide enough. It is accessible to me. I do kayak down the Platte sometimes, or tube down the Platte. The only part that's not accessible is the feedway. I'll be honest. Like, I do have to have someone hordor me down. They'll throw me on their back and they'll go down and walk down the area. So would love to be a part of trying to make more of the open spaces accessible, but they're critical. I mean, that's a part of the character for me here. And I want to continue to preserve that. I mean, I love having Breck Brew and some of the coffee shops that are along the bike trail too. So I think that's critical. So I appreciate
and like the opposite of what you said is true. People moving from Denver to Littleton, but I've met so many people from Castle Pines or Highland Ranch that want to. Hey, we want to get a little more. Rather than just a suburb that's just houses, we want to have a little more connection to this, bigger city feel. Even though Littleton's still a small city, but we got a vibrant downtown. It's 15 to 2 hour drive to downtown Denver, depending on traffic.
Well, and downtown Littleton is no slouch. That's really hop-in area. I love when I could go to downtown Littleton. I loved going to downtown Littleton. It's
amazing how much has changed in the last 10 years. Because when we bought our condo down here, my wife was born and raised in Denver, and she did not want to come to Littleton. Littleton was little fun, this kind of old sleepy community. And then we moved in, downtown started to change, and when we decided to move from the condo to buy a house, she drew a 6-block radius right around downtown Littleton. So this is where we want to live. We can see the potential for what's going to be there for to enjoy for our family here in the years to come. So it's been great.
Absolutely right. All right, go ahead, Scott.
So say one thing I would add is that in addition to the city's wonderful amenities, right, which include things like open space in the downtown and arts center, the museum, the library, etc. Right. One thing that makes Littleton unique is just how deeply people care about and invest in this community. So many people I've heard from say, I got to Littleton, I said, this is home, right? And so many people have been here for generations, right? Because it continues to be their home. One thing I really love about Littleton is just how much people care about it.
No, you're dead right on that. And this is, you're talking to someone that was an Air Force brat, so moved around the shortest time I lived somewhere was 9 months, the longest was 4 years, and then was in the Army myself. And Littleton is home now. And that's because of the people in the community itself, how active and engaged and how much they care. And it's like, I'm going to take a moment to be bipartisan and nonpartisan here. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. My experience in Littleton has been that way anyways. Like, my neighbor is, helps me take out my trash because I live life in a wheelchair. I know you can't see that now. He'll cut my grass. He'll help me maintain my yard. And he is a proud Trump supporter, And, when he was going through a tough time, we had him over every day, just had a little fire pit in the backyard, kind of a place to talk. So, I think that's the characteristic that I agree with you, Scott, that really it's the people and kind of like the different historical and cultural places that have evolved and grown over time while still respecting kind of the history and the culture of Littleton. So I appreciate that.
That's a great lesson that Littleton has to offer the nation, right? That neighborliness can absolutely take precedence over partisanship. I think Littleton's a shining example of that in a lot of ways.
Sure, that's great to hear. All right, so at this point, I'd like to go into our lightning round. So really what the purpose of this is to get quick questions out there for people that might be listening in to get to know you. If you guys out there listening have a question you would like to hear Kyle and Scott answer, please feel free to chime in. So we're going to start with a favorite here. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Personally, it's not my favorite, but I let people to eat what they like to eat. If they want to eat pineapple on pizza, let them have it. I live in Japan, where one of the toppings is corn and mayonnaise on pizza. So,
Okay.
Yes, pineapple belongs on pizza.
I'm going to be a resounding no on that, gentlemen. All right, next. Is deep dish pizza to you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. I agree. Yes. So for once, we have a unanimous decision here. All right. Talk to
I
me
think the
about
real
your.
question is
Go ahead.
how much hot sauce are you gonna put on this pizza, man?
Yes.
You gotta have, yeah.
I've got my Chipotle. I've got my my
Right.
my different salsas, my arrays that I throw on there for sure.
You get that hot sauce.
Yep.
No hot sauce on pizza.
To each their own, right? So okay, here we go. Here's another question. What's your favorite outdoor activity? Since we're talking about like open spaces and outdoor stuff, like here in the state of Colorado, what's your favorite outdoor activity?
I actually just like being in my garden, just gardening.
Okay, that's great. That's an answer for sure.
I love it all, man. I backpacked the 500-mile Colorado Trail from Denver to Durango.
Awesome.
I love to bird. I love to fly fish near my parents' cabin in Deckers, and currently in the process of converting my entire backyard to raised bed vegetable gardens. I'm a former CSU Extension Master Gardener. I love my garden. I live in my garden. I love
Awesome.
Kyle's garden too.
I'll be asking you guys for tips soon because I notice the older I get, the more I like the idea of having a garden, picking my own food, brewing my own beer, like that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's Colorado starting to like become a part of who I am, but definitely is. We got a question from the crowd here from Maureen Kirk. She lives here in Littleton for sure, in precinct 163. Ketchup on hot dogs, gentlemen, yes or no?
Yeah, despite growing up, 60 miles from Chicago, yeah, I put ketchup on my hot dogs.
Awesome.
I'm vegetarian, former vegan. I'm not even sure I remember what a hot dog tastes like, but if I had one, it would definitely have ketchup and mustard and relish on it.
Gotcha. I mean, you might just do ketchup by itself then, right? Awesome. And we got a comment from you're joined by one of your Arapahoe County City council members over in Aurora. She says you got to have that Valentina extra hot, and I agree. I gotta give her kudos to that. Let's make that a question between Sriracha, Valentina, any of the hot sauces. Which one would you claim would be your favorite, or no hot sauce if that's a thing?
He's his own Marie Sharp hot sauce.
Marie Sharp, all right.
I like all different hot sauce. I don't have one. I like to try different things. I like diversity and try, and I want to see what that tastes like, and so I don't have a favorite one.
Good.
But if we're talking about pizza,
I'm gonna pick.
No hot sauce.
Gotcha. No hot sauce on pizza. If I'm gonna pick one hot sauce to have in my chair bag, it's really, this is really my excuse to have a man purse. Like it's my wheelchair bag, but like if I'm gonna throw one hot sauce to have in there for the rest of forever, it's gonna be the Valentina. I gotta agree with Allison Kuhn. So shout out to that. All right, we got another one from the crowd. Salt or sugar on your rice?
I never thought about that way. Butter, okay. White rice.
Yeah, I butter. Yeah, I butter. That's a better answer.
Gotcha. If I'm gonna choose between salt and sugar, it's gonna go salt. I want to throw this out there because my family was in Texas since it was Mexico. So, do you put sugar on your grits or do you put salt on your grits? What do you put on your grits if you eat grits?
Butter on the grits, man.
Butter.
Okay, butter.
Butter and salt.
Okay.
Salt, yeah.
I'm gonna agree with that. Butter and salt. All right. Last question, because this usually spurs really good conversation. Talk to me about favorite books and why.
I'll go with unfortunately I don't read a whole lot as much as I would like to, but I think some of the books I read back in college, some Edward Abbey, Desert Solitaire, and Huge Game kind of stick with me.
Okay, awesome.
Geez, I gotta say that the deathbed edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass.
Interesting.
Book,
so you're a transcendentalist. I'm not surprised now that I hear what your favorite activities are, but talk to me about why.
Yeah, that book just was a friend to me when I was looking for a friend during some dark days in college without giving too much information. I came across lines like, geez, oh, to be yielded to you, whoever you are, and you to be yielded to me in defiance of the world. There's just a human beauty to that book.
Scott, we're seeing the poet in you, seeing the new side of you. I like it. I dig it. Very cool. If I'm going to pick one, it's going to be, and I said it before, Once an Eagle. It's by Anton Mayer. It's a little dated. He's not that great at writing female characters, as most male authors weren't back then. But the thing that struck me the most about this is it follows the careers of two who end up becoming Army officers. One that decides to be impatient and go enlisted, and then gets a field commission during one of the World Wars. And they have very different leadership styles. And the reason why I like it is because one is about the people that serve under him and making sure that they succeed and they're taken care of and they're okay. And the other one, his last name is Massingale, is about his career. He's really about his career and making sure his people above him look good and that he gets promoted and what's going on. So I'll leave it at that.
Can I get a second answer?
Yeah, please.
Already, that's every time anyone asks me that question, the gears just get moving. You start thinking of other stuff. There's a guy named Dick Renicky, and he lived in the Alaskan bush for a long time, starting in the 60s. He built a cabin. He kept journals. A friend of his named Sam Key. That probably tied with Leaves of Grass.
Awesome. I'll put that out there. And we got another comment. So Mo says, great books, Kyle and Scott. I love Walt Whitman and Edward Abbey. So no, we got you. We got you. You got me. So yeah, we're just throwing the fact that you got a comment on your guys' book taste. So Maureen again was like, great books, Kyle and Scott. Love Walt Whitman and Edward Abbey. So definitely being shown some love. So let's talk a little bit about, and I'll let you guys pick the topic next on this. If you want to either talk about a mentor that kind of helped you get where you are, or if you want to tell a story about your time campaigning and just working with volunteers, voters, constituents within the community. If there's a story about mentors and or volunteers or people you've interacted with the community that sticks out the most to you and why, would love to hear that.
Sure, I'll take a shot at it first. As far as a mentor, so I studied philosophy. That was my major as an undergraduate, and I had a professor, a woman named Professor Meller, and she taught a bunch of courses I ended up taking, but one in particular was a feminist philosophy class. Maybe an overeager 19-year-old. I was looking for answers and walked into her class, and man, it opened a lot of doors for me. It's turned into me volunteering at the anti-DV shelter, turned into me focusing on being that kind of attorney at law school. Turned into a lot of stuff that has really
Okay, I think you froze and we lost him a little bit there. Kyle, if you want to,
I guess I'll go off the same vein there. Back to college, college professor was my advisor, undergrad, Dr. Sullivan, and then for my graduate, my master's degree, Dr. Horn. My background in school was studying environmental change, and so what we would do is, take samples of sediment from the bottom of lakes and analyze the material in there, and we could track how the environment around that lake had changed over time. And just both those two professors and their attention to detail, but looking at the big picture literally through a microscope. I would spend hours every day looking through a microscope, and how the details are important, but it paints this much broader big picture. And so when we take the sediment core out of the lake, my focus was looking at charcoal, how fires occurred through time. But other researchers would look at pollen to see what the trees and plants and everything were like. And together we take all those little details and it takes this big picture that you never really have imagined without going, centimeter by centimeters, detail by detail. And I think it's, not lose sight of the big picture, but also not lose sight of how important details can be too.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah, sorry about that, Scott. We lost you a little bit in and out there.
No worries.
If you kind of wanted to summarize in one sentence, just to give, just kind of to clean it up, because we lost you at the end there.
Yeah, it's just a philosophy professor of mine named Dr. Jane Meller taught a feminist philosophy course, opened a lot of doors for me.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, and I the last show that I had here, I think there was a guest that was like, well, I've had many mentors, and I'm sure we all feel that way too. But it's interesting which ones tend to stick out in our mind. At this time, talk to me about what's going on specifically in Littleton with COVID-19. We'll wrap up kind of with that, talk about that, and then kind of like final thoughts. So talk to me about what's going on in Littleton and COVID-19, how we're supporting small businesses and the local community here, and how we're going to be opening up safely once Arapahoe County, on May 8th at midnight, going into the 9th, begins to open up.
Yeah, so fortunately, among the Arapahoe County municipalities, Littleton for now has a lower incidence of COVID-19 than some of our neighbors. So we're certainly fortunate in that regard. But what we've done to support businesses is council passed a small business grant program, and a crucial part of that was Kyle's idea. No surprise to use the leftover money Littleton Invest for Tomorrow, our urban renewal program that was disbanded. So $150,000 of that money went to local small businesses. The grant program closed. The people who were receiving grants would be notified no later than end of business today. A huge impact of COVID certainly has been and will be for the foreseeable future sales tax revenue. So the city relies really heavily on sales tax revenues, close to 80%. The city budget comes from that, and with restaurants and small businesses closed throughout the city, we're projecting a pretty major hit to the city's revenues for the year. Hopefully the CARES Act will offset some of that. It's been changed to allow municipalities, well, in our case, through the county was where our money will come from. Arapahoe County has been authorized to share some of that money with its municipalities, so hopefully that can offset. We've had to furlough 58 staff members at the library, the museum, and our Littleton Immigrant Resource Center. It's been tragic. It's been awful, right? Being in all these meetings, it's terrible. I think that our city leadership's doing a great job of responding, but it's just been awful. I think that as far as your question on reopening, it's going to be a phased reopening, starting with, for example, curbside book checkout and drop off at the library. We're going to do it cautiously because, quite frankly, this virus is really saturating our population. The virus is everywhere, and doing this too quickly risks a second phase. It's a dangerous moment. We want to make sure that we do it responsibly, carefully, and in line with public health advisories.
Thank you for that. And I just want to go off because when I had Centennial City Council members Candace Moon and Christine Sweetland on the show, they had mentioned that their staffing was pretty low in general, and that their impact on the budget overall with how much staff they had was pretty low. But even still, even in doing that, they're still going to be impacted by this. So, I really appreciate you talking about the 58 staff members that are furloughed, and that this is a real impact. And these are people that have been serving the community, and that we're going to do our best to safely reopen and try and do what we can to make sure first and foremost we keep each other safe, but also that we help out local businesses, small businesses, and that's how we help out the city and local governments in doing that. So not to interject my own here, but I would ask people please to still practice social distancing, to please wear a mask. It's not that big. It shouldn't be that big of an inconvenience. And I'm asking people out there that, as being a member of the vulnerable community, being a paraplegic, you're immunocompromised in a lot of ways. There's scientific evidence that shows that it works. Just please, if you want to thank me for my service, please put on a daggum mask. All right, there I'll say it. So thanks, Scott, for saying that. I appreciate you telling their stories and showing that this really impacts people in the community, and also what the city of Littleton is working on and doing to make sure that we mitigate that and then try and safely come back. So I appreciate that. Kyle, I don't know if you wanted to talk about how COVID-19 has been able to or has been impacting you and your family, your business, and
well, the main thing is my wife and I and the kids have been home for the last I think we're at 55 days here. Well, I'll go out for a run or go out for a walk or bike ride here and there, but we've limited our exposure outside going to the grocery store. I think we've been maybe 3 times in the last 2 months here, and it's been interesting to see us all working from home. My wife's a teacher, so she works pretty much from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Doing classes over Zoom, and then the kids are here. So I've got a 3rd grader who has class for a couple hours in the morning, and it's interesting to see the struggle that the kids have. We're a little more resilient as adults, been able to go through stuff, interact socially with our counterparts with phones and computers, things like that. And the kids that don't have that interaction with going to school with their friends, we got neighbors across the street. Seeing the kids, it's hard for them to talk just across the street. For us, we can sit and have a cocktail, yell across the street. Kids, they really want to get in there and interact with each other. And, we try to be gentle and bond with them a little more, but I think people don't realize how much it's affecting the younger kids in all of them. And so hopefully we can get back to some kind of new normal here soon when they can have this interaction. But it's tough. My daughter has twice a week has a circle time Zoom meeting with her other 4-year-old friends, and she's kind of been resistant to doing it. I think she actually doesn't know how to express herself, that she really misses seeing them, and is rather than not being able to express that, would just rather not see them.
Yeah.
So, that's just me projecting her. It's
I think you're speaking to a lot of parents out there right now. I think that is true. There's just the loss of like social interaction and friend groups and friendships, play dates, even just being in person at school.
Right.
And what all goes with that. So I appreciate you bringing that up. All right. So at this time, I want to let you guys know that Kate Eckel Reynolds is tuning into, not via our campaign page, so I can't pull it up as a banner, but she's waving hi to you guys. So she's sending her her thoughts and her support. So shout out from Kate to you guys. At this time, first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for joining me today. I also want to thank you guys so much for being early supporters. I know we went through candidate training together when it comes to deciding to run for office. And I'll be honest, like I kind of resonate with your guys' story where I was kind of the reluctant, like, I'm 36. I enjoy the work I'm doing now. Maybe not for me, maybe not right now. But it's been a humbling, inspiring, motivating journey. Tough, don't get me wrong. Like Senator Robert Rodriguez, his first comment to me was, "Thank you, and we're sorry." It's like when I told him that I was running for office. So I want to thank you guys for stepping up and being early supporters. For those that want to look up what's going on in the campaign, you can look us up by those hashtags, or you can look us up. That's going to be our social media. Just to give an update too, we just had reports that came out, so we are still out fundraising everybody at least 5-1. But campaigns take money, and so sometimes I get criticized for spending a lot of money, but really the majority of my spending goes to my staff, and that's because I'm not paying indentured servitude wages. If I'm going to talk about supporting unions and supporting livable wages and affordable attainable housing, then we got to live those values. And part of the way I do that is making sure I live that by paying my staff, not indentured servitude wages. So during a time of COVID-19, our big ask during this month is to be able to pay our staff. He does get paid $3,500 a month. So for May, if you guys out there are interested in helping us meet that goal, that's how you can give. So I want to thank you guys for that. If you are not in a place to be able to give and you want to volunteer, we need volunteers. So you can reach my campaign manager. That's going to be his email. It's going to be Matthias@corvinusstrategies.com, or you can email me. It's going to be david@davidortizcolorado.com. If nothing else, you can go to the website and check it out. So at this time, I'm going to let you guys go ahead and choose what final thought you want to end on, just a message that you want to leave with the citizens of Littleton and those in Arapahoe County that might be watching and getting to know you here.
I'll just say, get involved in any small way. About politics or campaigns. Ever since I got involved here, I find my neighbors, especially during elections or other issues, they text me and say, "Hey, what's this about?" or "Who's this person?" And it's just, it's all about, getting that information out there, and just talking about it. Even talking with people on the other side, politically about an issue. Disagreements are fine. That's how, it's just because you have this belief or you have this idea, doesn't mean you won't change your mind or you won't change their mind, or come to a better compromise. So I think, let's just get up there, be civil, and be interested in our community, and try to just get engaged.
All right. I appreciate that, Kyle.
Yeah, I'd offer a very similar closing thought, which is really just your community needs you. Get out there. There's absolutely an abundance of places where you can make a positive impact. Everything from cleaning up the local, running for office, contributing to sharing your thoughts and perspectives. Just recognize that this is the place you want to be. The contribute your energies to doing some good.
Awesome. Again, I want to thank you guys so much. Kyle Schlachter and Scott Moline, thank you so much. Everybody, all politics is local, and these are some of the leaders that are working on the front lines every day for you, making sure that we're doing this together in a time of COVID-19 and making sure we're going to come out of this safely, making sure we bring back the economy and support local businesses. So I want to thank you both for your time. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and send ourselves out with some music. I think that's very appropriate. So thanks again, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work.
Will do. All right, we'll see y'all soon.